Hello, I'm Rupert Turton, and welcome to the Business Spotlight interview, where we talk to local business owners about their journey. Today, I'm joined by Matthew Ayres, who's Group Managing Director at the Bennie Group, who provide everything from haulage solutions to shoes. So, Matthew, welcome.
Good morning.
So, first thing to do, actually, explain what the Bennie Group do and what your involvement's been in it, or has been in it over the years.
Super. Well, good morning, Rupert. So yeah, I'm the Group MD of the Bennie Group. We are a business that comprises of 7 trading divisions, primarily focused in the construction, equipment and plant and manufacturing sectors. So it's a family business. So I'm the 4th generation. So I've kind of been involved in somewhere or other from birth, whether that be mum bringing me into work for free childcare, or mum bringing me into work to get free labour out of me for various things. But I took over my role in July 2020, so during COVID. But yeah, the business predominantly focuses on kind of the hire, sales and service of plant and equipment, which is ably supported by our haulage division. And again, then in our construction space, we're kind of one of the largest providers of loam and topsoil in the UK to the construction sector. So the likes of Battersea Power Station, the green roofs there, for example. We're also a quarrying and inert landfill business, as well as an earth moving contractor. So that's kind of the key thing. Then one of the smaller businesses is our footwear, our orthopedic footwear business. So we're one of the last proper shoemakers, and every single pair of shoes we make is bespoke and made to order. One of the last proper shoe manufacturers left in the UK, in Northamptonshire, of course, just down the road from this office in the centre of Kettering.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, that's quite a diverse business, actually, isn't it? So, what are the biggest challenges running such a diverse group of companies?
Yeah, I mean, every day I come into work, and no day is the same. One minute you'll be talking about production, shoe production, and the next day you might be talking about the composition of certain soils and what that means for our customers, and how we manufacture those and produce them. Or we might be talking about the intricacies of a 2.5-ton counterbalance diesel Doosan Bobcat forklift, right? So everything is very diverse, and of course, at the centre of all of that is people.
Yeah.
Whether that be, of course, serving the different customers in those sectors, whether it be the NHS for the shoes, kind of a local kind of 1-2-man band on industrial unit down the road, or of course, whether that be kind of a large contractor for our soil projects. All of that is about managing the people. And then, of course, there's all of our teams that support making that happen. So, yeah, my biggest challenge every day is not being an expert in any particular of these fields in itself. Of course, I have some understanding, but my role is very much about how I look after our people, motivate our people, manage our people, to ensure that we're delivering for the customer at all stages.
Yeah. And actually, you appear to be a business who's very driven by your values as well. How does that manifest day to day?
In multiple ways. A lot of the way I run the business today is not something I've particularly come up with. It's just something I've learned growing up. That tacit kind of that osmosis that happens as you come into the business. And I was taught by my grandfather when he was alive, and my mother as well, that of course the business we have today is built on, the eight or so decades of people working really hard to make that happen. And they do that by building really good relationship with customers. They do that by working hard, and they do that because they care. And it's about fostering and looking after those people and serving multiple families. This is a family business. It's, mum is the chairman, Emma is our chairman. I'm obviously her son, but we're not the only family to work in the business. There are many other families that also work in the business, which is really nice. So for me, our values, of course, at the centre of our people, and making sure that if they're looked after, then ultimately our business succeeds because they look after our customers in the right way. And if you walk into any of our buildings, any of our offices, our values are plastered on the wall everywhere. And we talk about respect, and each of the letters of respect has different meanings and different for different pillars, as it were. And we make sure we try and adhere to those in everything that we do.
Oh, excellent. No, I like that a lot. And also, actually, you seem to be very involved in the community. I saw on your website that you're involved in at least 2 charities.
Yeah, we've worked again, it's the family business piece. We are here to serve the communities that serve us, right? A lot of our employees live locally to us. We've done a lot of work with Ride High, which is a charity based in Milton Keynes, which Emma, our chairman, mum, got involved with a couple of years ago, and that is all about helping desperately disadvantaged children through horses, and putting them back on the right tracks and giving them opportunities. One of Emma's, again, mum, one of her big things is about getting youngsters involved and giving them opportunities in business, because we appreciate some of the trades we work in, some of the industries we work in, they're not particularly exciting, are they? Soil, just refined mud, forklifts, orthopedic shoes, they're not the most, they're highly skilled, some of these things, right? And they're quite niche. But you don't leave school or university or college and go, yeah, I want to go make shoes, or I want to go make soil, or I want to go sell forklifts. So we're a big believer in kind of nurturing young talent, giving people opportunities, and letting youngsters thrive and succeed, because getting that right helps future-proof our business and build it into the future. And fundamentally, it also helps the local community.
Yeah. Okay. So what's your biggest learning since you've been a business leader then?
Oh, apart from no day being the same and it not being plain sailing and driving around in a Lamborghini, apart from realizing that none of those things actually are easy or come readily on a plate. I don't even like Lamborghinis, actually. I don't know why I mention it.
But I was just thinking we're about to go off down another. Oh, I'm really sorry. Hang on, we better pause. Oh no, sorry. So I thought we were about to go off down a completely different route, and the phone rang in here, which was on. So I'm really sorry about that.
No, don't worry.
Just if you want to go back to the Lamborghini bit,
yeah,
I'm happy with that. Yeah, that's fine.
So do we need to clap, or we?
Yeah, I was about to do it. Yep, you ready?
So hang on, what were we saying? We were saying Lamborghini. What have you learned? Yeah, what's your biggest learning?
Shall I ask the question again, and we'll just
ask it. Yeah.
All right, here we go. So, what is your biggest learning since you've been a business owner?
Well, of course, apart from coming in every day and not every day being the same, or indeed going to plan. I had one of those Mondays this week. Monday did not. I just come back from a stag do as well. Monday did not go to plan at all. But apart from being overtired and the day not going as planned, which is obviously quite regular. Apart from not driving, a Lamborghini, being Group MD of a £20 million organisation, you expect all these great things to happen. Apart from none of that, being transparent. I mean, I don't even like Lamborghinis. I don't know why I mention it. I don't think they're a cool car. Sorry to anybody that owns a Lamborghini. But I think for me, my biggest learning is that people, I've talked about people a lot already. People drive our business. They support our customers. But actually, people are inherently... everyone's unique, everyone's different. They're inherently great, but also problematic. And I'm learning that my role it's about being a leader. It's about being Group MD. It's about setting the vision, the strategy. It's about looking after people. It's about making difficult and unpopular decisions more times than you really want to. And they can be small decisions that upset a lot of people, or big decisions that upset a lot of people. So it doesn't really matter. It still upsets people. It's about managing and looking after them in all the different facets, whether it be their home life, their personal life, what goes on at work, their work relationships, but ultimately making sure that all of that is managed so the customer is supported. And I think that's probably been the big learn for me, is never underestimate the people challenges that you will face, because they are vast, they are never ending, but they are the thing that make a business. So whilst they present their challenges, they're also great, because there is nothing better than when you see someone succeed, especially if you take a youngster and you see them thrive and you see them develop over a multi-year period, and you see them supporting customers and doing good for your business, and you see them enjoying that. I mean, there's no greater benefit, really.
Yeah, it's the Richard Branson quote, isn't it? Look after your people, and they'll look after your customers. So it's
absolutely. And at that age, I'll put, people are your business. Yeah, if you look after them, they'll look after you. And people do business with people, right? And I think, especially in the industries we're in, that's really important.
Yeah. So, what have you learned about yourself during the journey then?
That is a great question. Well, I learn every day when I come into work. So I think one of the key things, and I remember taking this from school. I remember a teacher came in once, he did an assembly and explained how you must continue to learn every single day. Even when you leave school, make sure you continue to learn, because that's highly important. So one of the things I take away from, I've been to school, I got my 5 rejections, before I went to university, but then did go on to university. I went and got a job. I did lots of different things, but at every point I've tried to make sure I kept learning, and I've continued to make sure I do that today. And I think I'm not a naturally good exam-driven person. I don't like exams. I don't like tests. I don't like revising. I like being practical. I like doing things. So I suppose for me, the big learn is that I suppose my ability to continue learning is still there, and that's something I want to make sure I continue doing for many decades to come.
Yeah, so important. The world's changing around us so fast. If you don't keep learning, you're just going to get left behind. And it's also very interesting your attitude to rejection as well. It's sometimes it hurts at the time, but actually learn from the experience and move forward.
Absolutely. I mean, I was very privileged. I went to a great school down the road in Bedford. I had a superb education. I loved it. I was a good student. I had some good results. I wanted to do architecture, and I got, imagine being an 18-year-old and all your other friends. I think I probably was, the only person in the year to receive 5 rejections. Quite embarrassing. Imagine being an 18-year-old and taking that on board and going, hang on. Some of my friends are going on a gap year, right? They've got their gap year planned. They're going off to South America or Africa to find themselves. They've got this or some are off to university. They're going to enjoy freshers and get really drunk and have lots of fun and meet lots of new people and create lots of new friends. And I'm stuck at home with my 5 rejections. I mean, let's be clear. I wanted to do architecture. It's very competitive. It was hard, but I love design. I love being creative. I love building things. I love creating things. And one of the places I applied for was Cambridge, right? Let's be clear. I was never getting into Cambridge. That's fine. It was a bit of a whim, but I was hoping to get into at least 1 or 2 of the other universities on the list. But it didn't matter. I picked myself up. I dusted myself off. I ended up with some work experience at John Lewis, accidentally working on a shared service change program for a whole new division the John Lewis and Waitrose partnership was setting up down in London.
Yep.
And that 1 week work experience turned into a kind of a 12, 13 month worth of employment, which gave me some money, which was great, which helped kind of pay for some of my university education. I then went on I gave up on architecture. I thought that was a message from the powers that be above, right? You probably don't want to do architecture, you probably want to do something else. And I went to the University of York and studied management, and it was great. I loved it. And, I learned lots of things about how to apply myself and met lots of great people. So things always happen for a reason. And if you apply yourself and you work hard, they tend to work out really well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's looking back. What are your aspirations for the next 5 years?
Oh, well, of course, we've got a business plan. We're partway through changing the dynamic of this group. I come across a lot of criticism for it, not from the people who are part of the growth parts of our business, but where I've made change and some of the legacy elements of what we do. But yeah, we're on that change journey. So we're shrinking back our contracting business, and we've been investing heavily in our equipment and soil-based businesses because they are what I believe and what the board believes to be the future of this business. We do really well in those spaces. So for me, it's about making sure that we continue to invest in those and build and deliver over the next 4 or 5 years. We've got a plan to almost double in size in those spaces to kind of give some groups some standing and kind of future proofing it for many years to come.
Yeah. Okay. So a complete change of tack then, Matthew. What would you say to anyone thinking of going into business in the current climate?
I would encourage everyone to get involved. I think for me, business is about several things, right? So a business naturally will succeed if it solves a customer's problems. That's absolutely, you walk into any shop, you're solving the problem of, providing the goods or the nourishment or whatever you need, right? Don't be scared to fail. And I think if you can learn in hard environments and you learn from your mistakes, you absolutely must learn from your mistakes, because if you're not learning. And do not be scared to try things and fail. That's really important. Before I was here, I worked for a software startup that was part of the Westfield group, and that came through an acquisition. And part of that startup process, I learned this idea of test and learn. Fail at something. If you will learn far more from failure than you will from success. So make sure you do that and do that often. And software businesses are kind of built off that. Build some language, build some code, build some product, test it, see what happens, develop it, or it'll fail and fall away. And you slowly build the business. That way.
Yeah, yeah, and I suppose software lends itself because it's relatively easy to make the changes in the software world. In your
Yeah.
world, there's a lot of equipment that has to be moved around. Making changes is always going to be a slower process, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, 100%. Yeah, change, and especially when the large, the software business I worked for was 10, 15 people.
Yeah,
We're kind of 110, 120, so kind of almost 10 times the size. Yeah, the change has to be adopted in a very different manner, and things have to be tested slightly differently. But equally, our size of business is a bit more agile than a 1,000-person business.
yeah, of course.
They're all things go with territory. But coming back to the original question, yeah, I'd encourage anybody to get involved, and it doesn't matter on the climate, doesn't matter what's going on. Get stuck in, get going, and on that journey, find people to support you. There's lots of people out there that will, believe in your vision, believe in what you're doing, help you, support you. That won't happen overnight. Those things take time. I inherited a business here that, my mum pretty much ran this business on her own. It was very lonely. And I've made sure that one of the things I've learned from that is I've built a really good governance structure. Governance was a big thing, what I learned at university. It's also a big thing that John Lewis is all over. And we adapted that. And actually, one of the members of our board is my old boss from John Lewis. He was the program director at John Lewis, running the change program. And Kevin now sits on our board, and that's come as a result. I've known Kevin for, when did I join John Lewis? 2010. So I've known him 13 years, right? I've only worked for him probably say for on and off for say 5 or so of those, but we've kept in touch and we've kept talking. And he's always been really interested he's never worked in a family business. So he's always worked for kind of big blue chip companies. And he's always been really interested in the stories that I tell and the dynamic and what's going on. And that's culminated in him kind of being invested in our group and getting involved at a board level and the strategy and how we execute things, and him bringing his expertise in to stuff like that. So I would, absolutely encourage you to, don't do it alone. Take people with you on the journey and find people that support you in different guises, whether that be as a non-exec director, a mentor, an advisor, or of course working for you.
Yeah. Okay. No, great. So just before we finish, who is the first person that comes to mind when you think about success?
I think there are so many. I list many people right out there. And I was thinking about this the other day. The stag do I was on over the weekend. Dragon's Den was on the TV at some. It was left on. We were drinking a small number of beers, obviously responsible drinking. And
right. That's what you want to believe.
Yeah, sure. No one at work believed that happened yesterday if they'd have seen me. And you look across the panel, and I find Dragon's Den fascinating because I really like you have that huge contrast of 5 dragons who have clearly done well for themselves and know what they're doing in business. And you've got these entrepreneurs who are unknown, unheard of, and they're putting themselves in front of these very impressive people. And I look at that panel, and I think, well, Dragon's Den has been on the TV for donkeys, right? And Peter Jones has kind of, for me, been quite a constant in that. And I enjoy his story around, we've talked about it today, his adversity, his business failures, his business successes. And he's a great example of kind of British enterprise, as it were, in going through life and working at things and assessing his failures, but still building back and coming back, and actually being, I think, a really good figure and a role model through my experience of him is only, I've never met him, is only through maybe his Instagram profile, but only through Dragon's Den. I have huge respect for that. I think if you can pick yourself up from adversity and get going, learn from failures, learn from businesses that go bust, and then also, Dragon's Den it's a complicated and hard process. He invests his time and his team invest their time in taking those ventures and making them work. And I think that's a really important thing to do. And it's nice to see that that kind of happen. Of course, the more business leaders that do that in that space, the more opportunities it gives to young people, or entrepreneurs, or people who are starting out in business.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Matthew, thank you for talking to us today. It's been actually really interesting. So thank you for your time. If anyone wants to contact you at the Bennie Group, what do they need to do?
Drop me an email, matt@bennie.co.uk.
Simple as that.
Simple as that.
Yeah, great. Thanks for your time today. It's been great.
Thanks, Rupert. Thank you.